Hey, what's going on, guys, and welcome again to another RC in Motion video. As you guys can see, I've already laid out the parts. Some of them I've already pre-installed, like these shock body mounts, some of the trusses back there for the 4-link, and the links themselves. But I have a few parts, and of course, when you open up your manual, it's just going to start off with a parts list and whatnot, and pretty much everything used in the kit. Now, the first part that it wants us to do is of course, the differential and the locker, pretty much. And I guess this is for the front because it has a solid axle dog bone, and then it has an option part, the AX-10 Scorpion Universal joint. So what we're gonna do is we're just gonna follow along the instructions. I'm not gonna try and go in depth. Just point out some pointers here and there, and then go from there. Has a lot of nice tips how you want your position or your direction for your C-hubs. A lot of great tips. So let's go ahead and start with the lock differential. Of course, you have your locker, okay, and that we can put it inside the case, and then the bevel gear set. Okay, you gotta make sure these hose or these little prongs fall into the locker to push the locker down. That way it wouldn't jiggle. Okay, and of course we have 4 little 1.5 millimeter screws. Now this one is a stock 38. This one's gonna go to the rear. For the front, just like the Trail Crusher, the Hilux Trail Crusher, you guys saw me build. I put the 3614 heavy duty beveled gear set in the front. We're gonna do the same with this one. We have a couple upgrades I want to show you guys. Not as much as the Trail Crusher because we want to keep this truck light. Is a trail, but we're gonna go ahead and put this one in the rear. So this stock 38 tooth is going to the rear. So let's go ahead and install these. So there you have it. This is the rear differential. Okay. And then we go ahead and put the bearings, front and rear. Okay, and here we have the axle. So what we need is 2 bearings. Smaller, let's see, what size are they? They have it here in the manual. These are going to be 5 by 11 by 4 millimeters. So you put these in, you want to make sure they're snug. Okay, they fall into place perfectly. You guys can see that there. But we're going to need to hammer it down. We need something to hammer it down, and what I have here is this plastic T-wrench that I can use. You just hit it down. That way it's seated inside the case itself. And I believe there it goes. It's perfectly flush. Okay, and the same with the one on the outside. I'm gonna go ahead and install that one. That one goes on like that. Okay. So that's the installment of the diff or the beveled gear set. Okay, and then you have your little pinion as well. Okay, let's make sure this is flush as well, and it should sit in properly like such. Of course, it's dry, so it's gonna need some grease. We'll get to that here in a minute. So let me go ahead and do the front one, and I should be back and show you guys what it looks like. Okay, so I finished the front and the rear. Of course, this is the other half for the rear, and it turned out pretty cool. I put in some grease here in the rear, some green slime, I guess, from Team Associated, just to keep it lubed or greased, so that way those gears won't overheat. I think we should put a little bit more. Let's just put in some more here, the top gear, and we'll give it a spin. For the front, I already explained to you guys I was putting in that 3614. I don't think you guys can see it, but it says it right there, 3614 heavy duty bevel gear set from AxialRacing. Okay, and I put in the small pinion in the inside, and I just coated it with some red grease. It's a real soft compound red grease, just to keep everything lubed. If you want to waterproof it, you can just put in a thicker grease on this side, on the inside, on each side of the case, and that'll prevent water from going in. But that's personal preference. If that's the type of terrain and situation you'll be running your rig, go ahead and do it. So let's go and let's start installing the axle shafts. Then it's going to require one bearing at the end, or one bearing at each end. Okay, then you can hop on your diff case. Oop, we got it backwards. Okay, and that's what it's going to look like right there. So then when you add on your rear lockers, of course, they just slide right on. You might have to squeeze the ends somewhat. Okay, and then your bearing should be right there at the end, and same for the other side. Okay, we want to squeeze it, the axle, because I don't know if it's that they come warped or they just open at the ends for some reason. And that's your completed rear axle. Okay, now for the front one, we have one upgrade we want to add to this and for the front, we've actually picked up those AX-10. Let me show you guys here. The AX-10 Scorpion CVD or joint. Let me get you the technical definition here. So for the front, we've actually picked up the Scorpion Universal Joint Axle Shafts. So you guys can see. They're real easy to put together. Let me show you guys. There's a ring here. Okay, and you have a small little pin to where this little joint here hooks onto, and then this ring or O-ring just ties it on, so that way you won't lose the that pin, small thin pin. So this is what it looks like. Okay, so we picked it up for the front, and we are going to install this one in the front. So then we have the knuckles, steering knuckle. Okay, so we need to install the bearing on here for the steering knuckle, one in the front. Then our C-hubs should lock on once we close this up. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's put the C-hub on first. and then we could put that bearing here. Fire the bearing at the end of the C-hub. Hope you guys can see it there. Oh, there we go, a little bit. Okay, then now we can put that universal joint. Now for this universal joint, just make sure that it's snug and that joint actually pushes in completely, because if not, it's going to be loose and it's just going to be a pain. Okay, then let's go ahead and install the other side, and we shall put in the bearing. There you go. So I'm going to go ahead and do that off camera and then come back and show you what the axles look like. So here you have them, guys. They are completed and according to the manual. So as you guys can see, all the screws have been added. Okay, on the knuckle as well, 3-link mount here as well. And on the rear, we've actually installed the 4-link truss, or mount as you want to call it as well. And seems to be running pretty good. Okay, so this is the axle portion of the build, and this is the front one. Okay, now a quick tip. I mean, remember, don't over tighten plastic on plastic, metal on plastic. Of course, when it comes to metal on metal, same personal preference. If you want to use some thread locker on these bottom screws with nuts, go ahead and do that. I've lost tons of those, so I mean, if it's your personal preference, put on some thread locker. That way you won't lose it. I actually already put some thread locker, and that's on there. Here, it's personal preference as well. If you want to, you can add some grease here to the joint itself in the inside, just to prevent them from getting stiff or not steering properly or locking on you. Remember, when you put in this threaded end through that bearing through here, I didn't show you guys because I just mounted it quick, but you want to go ahead and put some grease here on this this little shaft part here, and that way run it through the bearing so it won't mess up your bearing. Again, metal on plastic, don't over tighten them, because then you're gonna have to screw a hole up here and it sucks. But yeah, these are the axle portion of the builds. Today we covered the diff on both, diff locker of course, and the axles themselves. So stay tuned, guys, for the next portion, which will be transmission, and maybe we should mount the links as well as the servo plate on here. So stay tuned. Remember, guys, rate, comment, and subscribe. I'll catch you guys later.